Greetings, everybody. It's your girl Jess coming to you live today. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what it's like living as a transgender woman and how I came to be transgender. This is, in part one. In part two, I'm also going to be talking about living, with being transgender and having autism, as a lot of you probably don't know, I suffer from Asperger syndrome, which is a form of autism. Sorry, I just had lunch. Um, so let's get started. As always, if you like this content and you want to continue to see more from me, please like and subscribe and share this video with as many people as you can that you feel can relate to the content that's, on my channel. And with that, let's get started. Now, how did I know I was transgender? Now, that is a good question. Um, Essentially, I always knew. Now, by that I mean, when I was 25, I first heard the term transgender. What? Well, let me back up real quick. Um, I've always felt like something was different with about me when I was a little kid, around 6 years old. But at that age, I just I never knew exactly what was different about me. Now, as I went through life, I liked playing with Barbie, makeup, nail polish, girls' clothes, reading books that most boys wouldn't read. I read every Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys Super Mystery, all the Nancy Drew books. Um, Now, again, when I was in high school, I was a little more aware of me, of, my identity. But again, like, I just hadn't heard a term that really described who I am and who I've, felt myself to be. Um, Now, when I was 25, I first hear the term transgender for the first time, and that's when I remember having this just like, huh, kind of moment like, oh, so there's a term for how I felt pretty much my entire life. Now, at that age, I made a deal with myself. I was like, look, you're nowhere near mentally ready to deal with how people and society as a whole are going to treat you and how you're going to be viewed, you know. And so I was like, I'm just going to put this on the back burner, really to see if, it was a phase or if it was truly who I am. And fast forward to when I was 35, that's when those feelings came back up again. And I was like, okay, awesome. Now I know what I need to do. Now I know the roadmap really, for my transition. And trust me, it's it's not easy, but I actually have some notes right here on my notebook. Um, First of all, being um, a lot of people ask me, what is transgender? What does it mean? And I actually looked this up on Wikipedia. It says transgender people have a gender identity, meaning how they identify, that differs from their sex assigned at birth. Um, what that means essentially is you can be born male, but identify more female than anything. Um, and if that's you, then odds are you're probably transgender and don't really know it yet. Um, and what I always tell people, and this is something, I'm sorry for the weird cameras. Um, this is something, my dad taught me is always, stay true to who you are as a person. That's number one, first and foremost, is be true to who you are. Um, the other things that my dad taught me are not relevant for this video, but I'll go ahead and share them with you guys since I mentioned them. My dad always taught me never to say I quit, never to say I can't, or never to say I give up. Um, now the other point that I the other thing I get asked a lot is, okay, you're transgendered. Does that mean you like, guys now? And this is a very big common misconception about, transgender people. And I actually made a note stating just because your gender has changed doesn't mean your sexuality has to change with it. Um, see, I was assigned male at birth. Okay, um, obviously, but I transitioned, but because when I was still male, I liked girls, so naturally I'm just gonna stick with that. So, and the other misconception that I get a lot is not well, does every transgender person end up transitioning medically? And the answer is no. Not every transgender person undergoes medical transition. In other words, for financial reasons, moral reasons, reasons of morality, values. Like it really it depends. It's not a one size fits all thing. Everyone's transition is going to be different. Mine, yeah, I take hormones now. Um, and honestly, my life has never been better. Um, I was gonna do this in two parts, but because we're already at 7 minutes, I might as well do it now. Um, so going into living life, being transgender and having autism, that poses an entirely different set of challenges. Let me tell you. Um, but I feel like being autistic before transitioning really kind of set me up in a way that I ended up developing a thick skin because being autistic carries its own social stigmas and and the such, just like being transgender does. However, a lot of people think that autism is caused by vaccines. We call those people anti-vaxxers. Um, and that's just not true. There's been studies done into this, and that's a whole nother debate. But for the sake of this video, autism is a developmental disorder that's characterized by difficulties with social interaction and communication. Um, and it's also a highly variable neurodevelopmental disorder. I know I'm using a lot of big words, but essentially what that means is a person who's born with autism, their brain is wired differently than every other Tom, Dick, and Harry. um, and living with that and being transgender, I mean, it doesn't make life any harder and it doesn't make life any easier. It's just something that I have to live with. Um, but honestly, like me transitioning was the best decision really I've made ever made in my life. And so, in closing, just be nice to other transgender people because all we're asking for is acceptance. And and that's it, really. If you guys will bear with me, I'm trying to do something here. That was the wrong thing. Anyway, I was actually trying to do something. But essentially, living life with, autism and being transgender has really been an interesting experience. And as I said before, if you like this content and want to learn more about, transgender, about being transgender and, transgender related, issues and other topics, please subscribe and like this video and share with as many people as you feel would stand to gain some sort of knowledge from me and from, my experiences in life. And as always, be kind to others. I know that carries a lot of impact now because of, this whole COVID-19 pandemic. And yeah, so with that, I will see you guys in the next one. Love.